Thank you very much. This is the second Tax Digest hearing of the Cobb County Board of Education, so I'm calling this meeting to order. And right now, first, we'll start with our Chief Financial Officer, Brad Johnson.
Good evening, Board. Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Board, Mr. Superintendent. The 2018 General Fund budget was approved by the Cobb County School Board in May 2017, or June 2017. Included in this budget was a continuation of the same general fund millage rate as the year before of 18.9 mils. That means from a millage rate perspective, the millage rate tax rate did not increase. The Cobb County School District has a long history of keeping property taxes low. The following are several statistics. One, the Cobb County Board of Education has kept the general fund millage rate the same, the final millage rate each year at 18.9 mils. The last change in the general fund millage rate was a millage decrease in 2007 from 19 mils to 18.9 mils, and the final millage rate each year after that remained at 18.9 mils. The Cobb County Board of Education completely eliminated the debt service millage in 2007 from 0.9 mils to 0 mils. This decision resulted in the school district being completely free of long-term debt, and we've remained free of long-term debt since then. During the budget shortages that began in 2006, this board never utilized the option of increasing the general fund millage rate all through that time period. Included into the 2018 budget that the board approved was a 6% estimate of net property value digest growth in Cobb County. I'm pleased to present to the board today that the actual property digest growth from the Cobb County tax assessor was 6.48%. So we were off by 0.48%. So that was very close, and we're glad for that. It is important to note that a completely separate entity, the Cobb County tax assessor, assesses property values annually in Cobb. If the tax assessor lowers the value of a Cobb County citizen's home, the district's millage rate will be applied to a lower value, and that property owner will pay less property tax. If the tax assessor increases the value of the Cobb County citizen's home, the district's millage rate will be applied to the higher property value, and that property owner will pay more property tax. In either case, though, the school district millage rate is still 18.9 mils, and our general fund millage tax rate has not increased. Per an extremely detailed Georgia law, the district is scheduled to conduct 3 public hearings on this matter in order to comply with their timing requirements and their advertising requirements in the paper. The meeting schedule as follows. This morning we had a public hearing at 10 a.m. Tonight we have one tonight at 6 p.m. And our final hearing is July 20th at 1:30 in the boardroom. The district is scheduled to approve the final general fund millage rate on July 20th at the 7 p.m. board meeting voting session in the boardroom. Mr. Chair, that is my presentation for this meeting, and I'm available to answer questions from you and the board.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Johnson? All right, Mr. Sweeney.
Mr. Johnson, thank you. Earlier today, you'd mentioned that there was a decrease in the Freeport exemption. Can you remind me what those numbers were?
I can. The Freeport exemption went from last year of $24.9 million to $14.8 million, which was a 40% decrease. And that offset the increase in the age 62 exemption, which went from $90 million to $101 million.
And do we have any indication in advance how that Freeport exemption may swing, or do you not get that until you get the final tax digest?
Don't really get a final idea on that till the final digest. What is interesting, though, on the Freeport, it has been relatively stable through the years, so this is a little bit of a difference,
okay,
which was good for us this year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Scamahorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and my apologies for not being able to make it this morning. I was incapacitated at the time. Mr. Johnson, I don't mean these to be gotcha questions, but since we got a little time for the public's benefit, because comments I'm hearing are about how much and where we're spending it, all that. But for review, it's my understanding the state this year gave us enough money for, it was 2%. What was that 2% in dollar figures that the state gave us? You know, that it was supposed to go for teacher salaries and throughout the state.
I don't remember the state amount, but they give 2% on the state salary schedule. 2% on our salary schedule is about 8.5 million times 2, which is about 17 million.
Okay. And how much, there was three things that took up that, three major things, TRS, and a couple other things. What were those things that?
Well, there's a lot of reasons that caused challenges in our budget. One was there was a $10 million increase or continuation in the state austerity cut. Now, we would have hoped that that would have been eliminated this year because the state economy is doing much better, but we're still going to be assessed a $10 million cut in QBE and austerity cuts. There was also an $8 million cut or an increase in the local fair share. And then we also had, we ended up giving a 1% bonus for all employees as well.
Okay.
Not sure exactly what items you're referring to. I think that's the main ones.
Okay. If, as a citizen, if I got on our website and went to the financial area section, is that fairly laid out that I could see where that money is going, and that we're actually, if I followed the percentage, we actually had to add money to that state money in order to balance that, for lack of a better term. Am I correct on that?
Yes, and the money's laid out on the website. We have a pretty good website, and we're pretty transparent. Every account that we have is detailed out in a notebook, and it has the numbers, and it describes how we calculated each number. We have the budget overview out there on the internet, and that explains every number that I presented to the board. We also have on the internet videos of the budget presentations. So when we talked in detail about the budget, when we explained it to the board, the public can get on the internet and actually watch the meetings. So there's a great amount of detail out there where the board, a citizen can see everything.
Well, I understand that, and we're very transparent. And if I'm alluding to something that we're not, I apologize. I'm not. I'm trying to make it very transparent. But for those, and one of the assets that you have that I don't, and we've talked about before, is you really can get into the numbers. And my personality is I just want to see the overview of the numbers many cases, unless there is a specific problem. And that's what I'm looking for the average citizen, saying, okay. And it comes to mind maybe something to the fact that our wallet size card that you made for us last year.
And we will continue to do that for the board.
Is that wallet size summary, is that somewhere on the website?
There is a version of that. We prepare a report for the board every year, and we do a pamphlet, we do a wallet size card, and we also do something called a popular report. And the popular report is probably 35 pages or so, and it lays out the executive summary details that I think you're referring to. And you can read that popular report online, and it's fairly easy reading. It's not in an accountant speak type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, and another job well done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Scamahorn. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? All right, what I'm thinking we'll do, it's 6:09 now, according to the clock on the wall, so let's sit here till 6:15, because this is an opportunity for the public to speak, if anybody were to show up, and then at 6:15 we'll adjourn. Is that acceptable? Okay, thank you. All righty, it is 6:15. We have had no public speakers, and we thank you for joining us. And without objection, this hearing is adjourned.